please. Tabs.
Ma'am, on behalf of the President of the United States Army, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service. Thank you.
Thank you. I can ask those with ribbons to stand at this time, please. Mentioned earlier, this moment as we have this shifting our focus towards you as a moment of responsibility. All of us gathered here to support you, to love you, to care for you, and days and weeks and months and years to come as you continue to grieve. I'm going to invite you to repeat the blessing after me, and then you can make a train in your children. The blessing then with Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Dayan.
Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai, God, ruler of the universe, who judges in truth, Adonai, Adonai, that gives to us, that gives to us, and we still find it in our hearts and our souls to somehow offer words of praise. That you make those tears, tear up from the bottom, anyone who's not to keep. למעלות, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ. אל ייתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. אדוני שומרך, אדוני צילך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם. A song for ascending. I turn my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth, the one who will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber, for the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The one who is your protection, a guardian at your right hand, by day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. The one who will guard you from all harm and guards your life, who guards your going and coming, now and forever. Adonai, עושה שמיים וארץ, עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ. Adonai roi lo echsar Binot esher bitzeini Al mei menuchot Yenaleini Nafshi yeshovev Yancheni v'magle tzedek Yancheni v'magle tzedek Leman shemo Gam ki elech begetz al mavet Lo irara ki ata himadi Shivtecha umishantecha Heima yenachamuni Taharoch lefanai Shulchan neged sorerai Dishanta vashemen roshi Kosi revaya Ach tov v'chesed ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים אדוני רואי לא אחסר A Psalm of David, the one who was, the one who is, the one who will be, is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though at times we find ourselves in the darkest of places, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. My friends, we come together on this cold Cleveland winter day to accompany beloved husband, father, grandfather, David Horowitz, David ben Binyamin, to his final resting place. This Shabbat, we begin anew. We begin reading the new book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. We find ourselves in a bit of a tenuous circumstance from last week to this week. At the end of last week's Torah reading, at the end of the book of Exodus, we as a people have completed the building of the tabernacle, of the Mishkan, the dwelling place for the Holy One of Blessing that accompanied us on our desert wanderings. Moses excitedly and anxiously gathers together all the pieces. They all fit together just so. Everything just seemed to work. I can only imagine the excitement that Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moses, our teacher, had to be prepared to enter into that holy space. And as soon as the final pieces come together, a cloud comes and covers the entire tabernacle and fills the entire tabernacle. God's presence is so great that Moses couldn't even enter that holy space. There wasn't room. And then we start this new book of Leviticus, Vayikra. And then God calls out to Moses. A voice calls out from within the tabernacle, inviting Moses to enter into that holy space. God engages in that wonderful divine act of tzimtzum, of contraction, of making room for us, for humankind. Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, we gather here today praying that you will continue to contract, that you will make room among the holiest and the purest, surrounding your sacred throne in heaven, for the soul of David ben Binyamin, for the soul of David Horowitz. May you guard him and accompany him. May you be with him in the way that we also pray you'll be with our mourners as they continue to mourn and grieve. Kirachem av al banim, rachem Adonai al yire'av. Ki hu yada yitzrenu, zachor ki afar anachnu. Enosh kechatzir yamav, ketzitz hasadeh ken yatzitz. Ki ruach avra bo ve'enenu, ve'lo yakirenu od mekomo. V'chesed Adonai me'olam va'ad olam al yire'av, v'tzidkato livnei vanim. As a father has compassion for his children, Adonai has compassion for those who show reverence. God knows how we are fashioned, remembers that we are but dust. The days of mortals are like grass, we flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over us, and we are no more, and no one can recognize where we grew. But God's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age, unchanging. As God's compassion towards us never ends, we know a father's compassion never ends towards his children, towards all those that he loved. Invite us in this moment and in all our moments moving forward to remember the love that David had for all of you, for all of us. As we read in the Song of Songs, love is much stronger than death. And though his soul goes to rest among the holiest and the purest, his love remains in our hearts and with our souls forever. We'll now have the honor of hearing from David's sons, first from Elliot, followed by Scott, and then Mark, with words of loving memory.
First, I'd like to thank everybody who's here personally, virtually, and spiritually for paying respects to my father. We very much appreciate all your efforts and are happy to have you here. Our lives will never be the same. Dad, I believe you're indestructible. But first, I want to say a few of the many special things that made you special. You always seemed more concerned about everybody else than yourself. You worried when we encountered difficulties and problems in our lives and our jobs. I noticed at an early age, your presence was always welcome wherever we were. Everybody liked you. You were very good at telling stories and jokes. Perhaps that's why your sons are very good storytellers today. My earliest memory of you is teaching me to ride a tricycle. Even though it may have taken me 5 minutes rather than the standard 3, you seemed so proud. Years later, when you taught me how to ride a bike, you showed me the same comfort, patience, and ease, not to mention that big, big smile. It didn't matter what we were doing, making models, hitting a baseball, If it was with you, there was no way I could fail. Dad, I believed you were indestructible. The ridiculous ease you demonstrated, resisting being overpowered by your 3 energetic boys, how we admired your big arms. It didn't seem fair that you were so naturally big and strong, while your sons had to work so hard to achieve the same. The years we lived in New Jersey, when you walked over a mile to the bus stop to take the 45-minute bus ride to work in New York, doing it day after day, regardless of the weather. Another memory, your bean and radish salad, how you transformed something so mundane into something that seemed like a delicacy. It seemed like it was just child's play watching you. Then there was the first time you played football with us. I remember you running into a light post. It seemed to vibrate for a few minutes, and you just shook it off. Later on, I admired the seeming ease you exhibited when you attempted to fix anything broken in the house, often just reading a repair manual and doing it so well. Moving on to lessons. Your lessons were simple and direct. Don't be a bully. Don't yell at your mom. Protect your family. Be polite. Whatever you choose to do, even drive a garbage truck, just make sure you like it. There are many others I won't talk about today. Then there were the times we worked on the house, painting the walls, inside and outside, putting up blinds, putting up a new floor, repairing the pool filter, sawing a huge tree. How worried you were when the saw slipped out of my hand and sliced across my leg. How we both sighed and laughed when we looked down and saw minimal damage. Transporting forward. Let me comment on the joy you showed seeing you with your grandchildren. How it transformed you and resulted in, if it were possible, a more affectionate you. But as time went by, the challenges appeared. An auto accident where your seatbelt saved your life, but also left a permanent mark on your chest. Then not long after, open heart surgery, where I got to speak with you just prior to your prep. It was the first time I told you I love you. Things were very different after that. I somehow felt even closer to you. Dad, I believed you were indestructible. In the following years, you dealt with a myriad of health issues, but you kept on. Even when things were taken from you, you didn't give up. In the present, as you recovered from an uncommon cardiovascular procedure, we couldn't predict the outcome. And when you called 2 weeks to tell me that you received a clean bill of health, it felt as if a massive weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I thought, thank God. Another Passover with my dad, another birthday, more conversations, more smiles and hugs. Dad, I believed you were indestructible. I do regret that I didn't call you even on our customary Friday evening. I could not have envisioned that I would never talk with you again. I wish I could have heard your voice, heard your concern for us all, for your inevitable wishes for all of us, your laughs. I digress. I remember trips to your office where you gave me a pad and a pencil. It was then that my boredom quickly melted into a love of drawing. During my 7th and 8th summer, while I jealously watched my friends get money for the Good Humor truck, you took me to Carvel every Sunday evening for my customary cone, dipped in butterscotch, cherry, or chocolate coating. Little did you realize that you were teaching me a lesson on how to delay gratification. I remember my first baseball game, which featured a home run by Hall of Famer Mickey Mantle. I'm sure many other memories lost and forgotten will return in time, along with more tears and perhaps smiles. My discussion would not be complete without discussing how you instilled the value of books and reading. What a marvelous exposure to a bigger world, and the opportunity to learn anything I wanted. How I admired the way and the manner you inhaled books. But Dad, I will also remember hundreds of phone calls with you, thousands of wonderful conversations, the walks we had, the discussions about our jobs, the talks about how bad our teams were, the places we visited, the new books we read, the movies we took each other to see, the times you surprised me when you started singing along with songs I was listening to, the time when you couldn't come up with an idea for your birthday gift and asked for the Les Mis CD. Who asked for a Les Mis CD for their birthday? You sure fooled me with that one. Dad, I believed you were indestructible. So Dad, it turned out, despite what I believed, you were not indestructible. But you were a great father, a wonderful husband, an incredible grandfather, a tremendously hard worker, but at times, you were my hero, my friend, my teacher, and even my student. There's a big piece of me that is no longer present, but I will carry your words, your love, and your name inside me forever.
I think you'll hear some similar stories from me, even though my brother and I actually didn't talk to each other when we were writing some of our memories of my father. Sometimes it feels like your entire life has passed in a matter of moments. Grade school, high school, college, and your kids growing up, your parents, grandparents getting older. If I could have it my way and wave a magic wand, it would have been great to see my dad live to a ripe old age of 100. However, 88 and a half is not a bad age to be reckoned with, regardless of life cut a bit short by a fall. And there were unanswered questions that he had about my new job, though I told my mom what the answers were and hoped that my dad's spirit was able to receive those answers. On the bright side, my dad did not suffer. He never became gravely ill or spent any time in a nursing home. Any of his ailments he had through the course of his life, he was always able to bounce back to his old normal self. And we never had to worry about him forgetting any of our names. Well, sometimes he kind of got our brothers' names mixed up, the grandkids confused, but he was always able to correct himself. I would guess that everyone who knew my dad and came in contact with him see him as very similar as I did. He was a great man and a great father. So let me tell you about my dad with my eyes. When I was a little kid, I thought my dad was invincible. You heard from my brother, he was indestructible. I guess you can use the word one and the same. I'll never forget the time my brothers were playing football. Elliot had just told you about it. And he missed the ball and ran into a street light pole. So there you have it. You're hearing the story more than one time. He was shaking so much, though, that the pole was shaking so much, though my dad must have been superhuman. That's what we were all thinking. It was like, how could a person run into a huge light pole and be fine? And I think he hurt the light pole. My dad told me a story that when he was in the Army, he was stationed in Germany for 18 months. And I didn't really know this until just a few years ago, because I used to visit Germany all the time, going to a medical convention every year in Dusseldorf. And he said, "Hey Scott, I heard that you're going to Germany. I was in Germany for 18 months. And I said, "Really? I didn't know you were there for that long." So he told me a story. While he was in Germany, they had very cold winters, probably just like what we're experiencing here. And for some reason, he said he didn't have a coat. It's like, "Dad, how could you not have a coat in the middle of a German winter?" He says, "I didn't have a coat. I had to borrow one from someone." And he said even that coat wasn't warm enough. But he was, I think he was stationed in a city called Kaiserslautern. My dad was always the family consultant or the expert on anything and everything about life. He always seemed to have an opinion and or an answer no matter what the subject was. You could ask him anything, and he'd try to put you on the right path, or he'd just tell you what the considerations were, and he'd tell you to make your own final decision, and he'd support you with it. It was also great to have you around while you watched me play baseball or doing my katas and my taekwondo classes when you visited me in Tampa. Let's talk more about invincibility. Through the course of my time with my dad, he had open heart surgery, prostate cancer, several cardiac stents, double knee surgery, and most recently, a couple months ago, a valve replacement. Once again, always bouncing back. I guess growing old is a part of life, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, there is no immortality. To my dad, I will miss you. Those who've crossed your path will miss you, and you will always be in my heart and mind forever. If there's truly a heaven, there is a place for you and you will be there resting in peace.
I'm not very good at giving speeches, so I'll give it a shot. Memories of my dad. My dad was a lefty, and we would always go to play catch, and he never bothered to get a mitt for the correct hand. So he would always take one of our mitts and put it on the opposite hand, and I never understood how he could catch with that mitt. But most importantly, my dad was very highly respected in his industry, by the people he worked with, by his peers, by his co-workers. Even one year, he was so highly respected that he was put in the Who's Who registry. I actually still keep in contact with some of his employees, and they always remind me how much of an influence he had on them, and how he was so good to work with, how he gave them the experience and opened up opportunities for them. And to reach that level of respect is just truly admirable. Love my father very much, and I'm going to miss him very much.
קרוב אדוני לנשברי לב, ואתה כרוח יושיע. Adonai is close to the brokenhearted and helps those crushed in spirit. Tell us, God, what our term is. Tell us the measure of our days. Were we to know, we would know then certainly how fleeting life is, how quickly we gray. You have made our life just handbreadths long. Its span is as nothing in your sight. No one endures any longer than a breath. We walk about as a mere shadow, mere futility is our hustle and bustle, amassing treasure and not knowing who will gather in. Ribono Shel Olam, we've just heard such beautiful stories of loving sons with a loving father. David in his life amassed the treasure of a good name, the treasure of a long and loving marriage, the treasure of children and grandchildren who have the warmest and sweetest and most wonderful memories. Those of us gathered here today commit to telling those stories over and over again. Over the years, the pole should get wider and the pole should get bigger, and it shook for 1 minute, it shook for 2 minutes, it shook for an hour. For a man truly truly larger than life. We know that as we continue to tell those stories, as we continue to share those memories, as we continue to put that love that David put in our hearts out there into the world, that his memory will never fade. His love will never fade. The kindnesses that he bestowed on so many will never fade. And now, unfortunately, we have the opportunity to bestow a kindness upon him. Burial in our tradition is referred to as chesed shel emet, as a true act of loving kindness, something we do for our loved ones that they cannot repay us for, as if we could possibly repay them for all the kindnesses they gave to us in their lifetimes. I'll invite all of us gathered here, starting first with our mourners in just a few moments, to take part in this important mitzvah as we blanket the aron, the casket, with earth. There are a few traditions I make sure to highlight surrounding this. Some people, you'll notice, might use the back of the shovel for the first shovelful of earth, recognizing that we do this because we have to, not because we want to, in the most efficient way or in the fastest way. Likewise, we don't eagerly pass the shovel from hand to hand. We replace it to the earth and then pass it forward. Keeping in mind that we do so with love, with openness, with the desire to serve, with the desire to repay kindness. I'll invite our mourners to come forward first, and then invite all those able-bodied among us to take part in this important mitzvah as well. A little bit easier to slide on the bottom.
anybody else wants to do it. Really. Scott, that was beautiful. Both of you guys should be very proud of you. That was fantastic. The impact was awesome. It really was awesome. You don't have to have a long speech. It's important. I love you, Josh. See that I'm in all the way. Okay.
Rabbi, do we sit down again now? You can sit. Okay.
There's no way to define God. Every attempt to further our understanding is an exercise in poetic language. When we need leadership, we call out to Malkeinu, our ruler. When we need guidance, we address our heavenly parent. Should the marvels of the universe fill us with awe, we sense God's Shekhinah, God's dwelling presence among us. And in moments like this, when we need strength, we call out to Hatzor, the rock, an image of stability, of strength. Hatzor Tamim, the perfect rock whose work we perceive, reveals a faithful God, true, upright, and honest. The rock is perfect in every way. Dare we account God to account for any deed, ruling below and on high, causing death and giving life, bringing down and raising up as well. Hatzor Tamim, the inscrutable rock, dare we question Mata Aseh, what have you done? When God's every word comes to be immediately. Hatzor Tamim, the rock is unfathomable, but just and patient and filled with compassion. God, have pity for parents and children. Ki lecha Adon haslichot v'rachamim. Forgiveness and compassion are yours. You are just in the giving and in the taking. In your hand is the essence of all spirit. You would never permit the impact we made to fade. So consider us keenly, for you are the master of compassion and forgiveness. Were immortal to live but a single year, even 1,000, it would not seem enough. We therefore praise the judge of truth, who takes but who also gives life. We know that your discretion is beyond us. We know that your word is good, but your judgments at times puzzle us. And though we may brood over harsh realities, Sadiq Ata, we place our trust in your righteousness and accept our lot and our loss, in the love that remains with us forever. Rachema pleitatzon yadecha, have mercy upon us and strengthen us to maintain our courage at this time of sorrow. Adonai Natan, God has given. V'Adonai lakach, God has taken. Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach. I invite us to rise as we recite the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim Hamtzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הקים אסירים את נשמת דוד בן בנימין שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן די מנוחתו אנא בעל הרחמים אז תראהו בסתר כרפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני ונחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of David Horowitz, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. We say, Amen.
Amen.
In just a moment, I'll invite our mourners to join with me as we recite the Kaddish Yatom, the mourners' Kaddish, as they join together in elevating and sanctifying God's name for the purpose of elevating and sanctifying the soul of David ben Binyamin. After which I'll invite us to form two lines that our mourners will pass through as we bestow upon them traditional words of comfort, recognizing our responsibility, though due to COVID there's no formal gathering, no formal shiva over the next few days. Our responsibility, those of us gathered here, to continue to care and love and be with our mourners as they continue to grieve. For now, I'll invite our mourners to say these words with me. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yumechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'gala u'v'yizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei maya יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בימה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. May the one who makes peace in the heavens make peace for us here on earth, bring peace and comfort to all of our mourners, and we say amen. Invite those of us who are gathered here to make two lines as we exit the graveside. As our mourners pass through, we'll say Hamakom Yenachem Etchem Betoch Shar Avlei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May the Holy One who is in every place bring you comfort among your family, among your community, among the Jewish people who know what it is to mourn, for we've mourned for Zion and Jerusalem.
Once the family passes through, you may return to your cars also.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you.